Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Marcus from InfoSec Governance, and in today's video we're going to be talking about that subject, ransomware. What it is, how you protect against it, and how you actually recover from it if you actually do get infected. Now when I hear the word ransomware, it sends shivers down my spine. It's one of those things that I never personally want to experience ever, and touch wood, I've never had to do it just yet. However, one of the first things I would think about if it ever did happen to me would be a case of, how did this happen? Why did it happen? And then, have I backed up recently? And do the backups actually work? So, before we actually get started into the technical aspects of how to actually recover from a ransomware attack, we actually need to understand what ransomware is and what to look out for and how to actually protect against it. Now, you've probably heard the name or the term ransomware before. It's made the news for the last couple of years and just seems to be increasing all over the time. But do you know what it is and how you actually become compromised? Now, ransomware is typically spread through phishing, spam emails, or some kind of social engineering effort. You can also be infected by visiting websites which have been compromised or spoofed to look like a legitimate website, and which tricks you to actually download some kind of manipulated file which you then run and then become infected. So once the ransomware has actually been activated on your device or your network through either by clicking on an email attachment or actually downloading a malicious compromised file, the process will start. The ransomware will actually start executing. It'll drop the initial part of the payload onto your machine, gain a foothold, and then try and establish a permanent presence on your machine. And then depending upon what type of infection it is, it might either start encrypting all your files on your computer right now, or it might actually wait for a predetermined amount of time before actually starting and then encrypting all your files and data. Now the thing about ransomware is it's constantly evolving. The ROFers are always looking for ways to actually get around malware protection and looking for security vulnerabilities and holes within operating systems. So what used to be blocked and get bypassed years ago doesn't work now. It's even evolving on a monthly basis. But once the process has been completed, you'll be prompted with a ransom demand screen. This normally states that you must pay for the decryption key for your machine, usually via Bitcoin, to decrypt all the files that are on your computer, which may or may not be successful. Now, the UK's NCSC has guidance, as well as the police. They say, don't pay the ransom. Just ignore it, don't deal with them, bite the bullet, remove all the infections off your computers by pretty much wiping all your machines and then recovering from good known backups, and then just recover from there and start again from scratch. Yes, this will be painful, but it's the only sure way of ensuring that your machines are completely infection free. Now, another reason to say don't actually pay is because there's no guarantee that you're actually going to get all your files back. Your computers may still be infected with some kind of malware. You're likely to be targeted again in the future. So now we know what ransomware is and how it spreads. Let's get down to talking about what the steps are to protect your business against becoming compromised, and more importantly, what to do should you get compromised. Now, the best ways to limit the chances of you becoming compromised is to put several layers of protection in place, otherwise known as defense in depth. This means that should malware compromise your systems, then hopefully the measures that you put in place before this happens will stop the infection spreading. You should assume that one day your business will be compromised and that the damage will happen, so you should always ensure that you review your plans and your systems accordingly, and hopefully this video, fingers crossed, will give you some extra ideas on further protecting and recovering your systems. So step one is backups. I can't stress this enough. Make sure you have backups in place and have been checked and restored properly to make sure that your backups actually work. Make sure that your everything that you know is backed up. If you're using cloud-based systems like Microsoft 365, Microsoft 365 does not back up your data. They stress that in the terms and conditions. So make sure you've got processes in place to actually back your data up. If you use Microsoft 365, such as OneDrive or SharePoint, anything like that, the last thing you want to do is get your SharePoint instance ransomware, and then that's it. You can't recover and your business is pretty much over, unfortunately. Again, any other third-party applications that use that are in cloud-based, maybe payroll, stuff like that, make sure they're all backed up, or you have processes in place to keep that backed up. And again, just make sure that your backups that you do, you actually test and recover, make sure they actually work. Ideally do this on some kind of a monthly basis or anything like that. You should also ensure that you have copies of license keys and copies of software, such as for Windows, Mac OS, or anything else, and have any installations of software available on USB devices, so you're ready to go should you have to actually go and wipe everything and start again. Step two is patch and update. Patch and update is pretty much across the entire business, making sure that security updates are applied on all machines quickly and regularly. At the most monthly, but ideally within 2 weeks of release. Yes, that can be hard for some businesses, but if you look at the aspects of, if you don't patch, what's going to happen to your business, if you get ransomware, if you patch and you patch those holes or those security vulnerabilities within your systems, then malware might have a smaller chance of actually compromising those machines, and you're going to be better off. So weigh up the options and go from there. You should also look at patching third-party applications, so making sure that it's not just Microsoft or Mac OS, making sure that your third-party apps such as Adobe, any other third-party applications are also patched and kept up to date. Step 3 is antivirus. Install and use antivirus on all your computers. This goes for Macs as well. A lot of people think that antivirus is no longer needed, but it is an extra layer of defense in ensuring that your system is protected from infection. Microsoft Windows 10 even comes with built-in antivirus, so you might as well use it. Step 4 is control the spread. Reduce the chances of spread by ensuring that you have controls and policies in place for USB devices, and ensuring that you have mail filter protections and controls in place. This is to ensure that any malicious emails or executable attachments are actually blocked at the border of your environment. So if there's anything malicious or anything malware related, if they're getting emailed to you, they're going to get blocked at the edge, and they're not even going to reach your users. You should also ensure that any websites that you visit are also checked. A lot of this can be done from endpoint protection or antivirus features. What happens there is your antivirus, the endpoint security, will actually check the websites that you're visiting, and then if there's anything malicious in the database that it's detected against, it'll block you going from those malicious websites. Again, it's just another layer of security for you. Step 5 is run from knowing sources. You should have policies and procedures in place to ensure that any staff can only install software and actually run software from known approved application sources, such as trusted sources or MDM or mobile device management. This just helps you ensure that all software which is running within your environment is known about, it's trustworthy, and it's minimizing the chances of infection. Step 6 is stop using local administrator or root for your day-to-day actions. This goes for you developers as well. You should look to configure all users to be a standard level user for day-to-day actions. You shouldn't have to use administrative accounts, which is by default on all operating systems. You should change them so anyone who logs in is a low-level privileged user. This means that if you do get infected by malware, the chances are it's not going to be able to do everything, because it's going to have to prompt you to level up to do administrative actions. Step 7 is user awareness. Make sure you inform any users about what to do, what to look out for, what not to click on, and how to actually educate the users about the dangers of blindly clicking and installing software from the websites or internet or anything like that. And then step 8 is finally prepare for an incident. You should make sure you implemented, processed, and informed people about what to do should you actually be infected. You should ensure that you have identified all your assets, defined a communication plan, both for internal and external communications, and also ensure that there are incident management playbooks ready. Now, if you haven't heard what playbooks are basically documents which have defined steps for actions that are going to help you through the process. So it'll be like a load of bullet point stuff with some explanations beside it, just saying do this, do this, do this, and do this. So it just helps during an incident. You've got a defined process already in place, and it's nice and structured, and you can just go from there. So now that you've got all the layers of defense built into your business, what should you do should you still fall victim to malware? There are basically 6 steps for this, which are: step 1, isolate the infection. Prevent the infection from spreading by separating all infected computers from each other. This includes, removing them from any shared storage on the network. This could be done by pulling network cables in one case if it's a quick one. Step 2 is identify the infection. Look at how did the infection get into the business. Was it via email? Was it download? What type of ransomware is it? Can you actually find out what name it is? Does it have any identifying markers that you could have a look on the internet and identify what it is, and then see what the impact could be. Step 3 is report. Report the infection to the necessary authorities and people, and coordinate measures to counter-attack the malware. Step 4 will be to look at your options, check your playbooks, look at the state of your environment, and decide what the next steps are. Has it only been a couple of machines that are infected, or is it the entire environment? Look to see what you need to do first, but step back, have a look, don't rush into things, don't panic, talk about it, look at it, and get sorted. Step 5 is restore and refresh. Use known good backups and software and restore all your computers. You should wipe all machines just to be safe, make sure that you're not still compromised, and then actually restore from known good backups and recover everything again. Step 6 is plan to prevent. Once you've recovered everything and everything's back to normal and you're all back to working, you should assess how the infection got in, how it spread, and then plan to make sure it never happens again. And then that is it. I hope this video has been informative for you. Have you had a ransomware incident before? I would like to know if you have. How have you recovered from it? Did it impact everything? Did it not? And then, like and subscribe to the video, and I'll see you next time.